Holy shit.
Hello, we are Geeks Assembled, and today we are discussing a Brat Pack movie from 1985, released round about July time of 85, directed by Joel Schumacher. It's St. Elmo's Fire. What can we say about this movie? As we said, the Brat Pack, members of the Brat Pack appear in this, and also it's got a very memorable theme tune by John Parr, Man in Motion, St. Elmo's Fire, great song. Shall we go on to opening thoughts with these guys here? Let's. Susan.
Alex is with me today, and I've seen this now 5 times. The reason that I don't see it a lot is because I don't really love the characters. I mean, I understand them. I see where they were going with this, but I don't. They aren't. It's not as lovable or as enjoyable as the Big Chill. It's not the same kind of thing as the John Hughes movies. It's and the fact that I mean the actors acted their socks off, but the characters themselves, I'm just not so fond of. I don't like what they did with some of the relationships, and that's just personal. But this was why we review things, because sometimes we have to watch stuff we're not so fond of. And yeah, it's got a great theme song. The love theme from St. Elmo's Fire plays throughout all of these great love scenes in it, but yeah, it's hard. It's hard to really embrace the story because of the characters, and but it's got some of the highest in uh, interesting actors of the time. It's got Emilio Estevez, Rob Lowe. It's got Ali Sheedy and Andrew McCarthy, Demi Moore, and Judd Nelson, Mayor Winningham, and Andy McDowell, and Van Patten, Joyce Van Patten, and yeah, and Anna Maria Horsford is the token Black woman in the movie. And anyway, so it is of a time. It is totally 100% rooted in the 80s, when people were wrestling with money, career, and marriage and stuff like that, and stuff. And I mean, I know that was a thing, and I graduated from high school in '87, and but my story was a lot more. I had a lot more lovable characters in my life than this lot. And maybe that's just because I was stinking lucky, and maybe it's just because I had a good group of friends, an awesome group of friends. Anyway, what did you think about St. Elmo's Fire?
Not too much.
I guess it's good in the sense that it is better maybe than About Last Night. I kind of agree with the critics. But there was a lot of movies, whether it was the Brat Pack as they're called, or John Hughes. Um, and as I recall, there didn't seem to be a lot of competition. You'd have to either go to England, or you'd have to go to TV movies, or you'd have to go to independent movies. I mean, part of it is fun in the sense of, you're trying to be rebellious, I guess, or you're trying to hang out at a certain place so that you have like Cheers or Friends. But at the same point, I'm not trying to rewrite it to the modern um, lexicon or the modern thought. At the same point, it is very much set in the 80s. I like the fact that they are trying to show the women characters a little bit stronger. But again, I'm not going to whitewash it in a way and say that there weren't any strong women characters in 70s movies either. But at the same point, I did feel like a lot of the male characters in this movie were big jerks. And I know a few of the characters are written that way. But
I didn't
it
think
did
that the
come.
women were written too nicely.
No. But I'm saying in the 70s, there were strong women in movies too.
Yeah.
It's just that it wasn't encouraged. Here, I think they went slightly overboard in a way.
Huh.
But again, I'm not criticizing it in the last 2 decades, because the other thing that made, when I saw the movie again, more complete this time, I didn't like the way that they were talking at the shelter. Was that a homeless shelter they were in or whatever? And I agreed with the woman right on the corner of the film, looking at them strangely. I said, "Yep, me too. I understand."
Yes. Yes.
So
They
I-
weren't.
yeah.
They weren't. They weren't at all even conscious of where the fuck they were during that scene.
I wouldn't go that far. But again, not everybody was woke, as they say nowadays.
Well, you don't have to be
it was-
woke, but you
right,
can just be
okay.
awake,
Right,
conscious.
but I'm just saying, I I I think I personally think that this film was given too much credit.
Agreed.
I just didn't like the way it was written. I didn't like
Yes.
the way that the characters bounced off each other.
Yes.
But I do agree that they did have some variety of characters. I think it's also because at the time I was still watching like indie movies like Heathers. And I know people would be saying, well, that's nastier. Yeah, it is. But even I felt that that was more realistic in terms of the way that they related off of each other than this movie. And I understand what they're trying to go for. It's a little bit of a Roadhouse. If you ever saw the original movie Roadhouse,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of that style, which I understand, and it's also partially 80s. And the problem is now they might make it even more boring or more aggressive to try to correct things.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I know I don't like this movie. It's not the actors. The actors are actually good. I
Yeah,
think it's just the way it was written and
We.
the way it was directed. I just didn't like, and the music is so.
But
Right.
the music I like the music, but
um,
yeah,
But
I guess we're in agreement. So from this square, anyway, back over to you, Lee.
Thank you. Right, we'll go over to Mr. Craig over there.
I'm going to watch Heathers tonight because I've just watched The Breakfast Club, and the film that came up straight away after and started playing was Heathers, and I was like, oh, it's got Winona Ryder in it, and so that's what I'm watching after this. St. Elmo's Fire. So
What you've got to remember, Craig, is you suggested this movie.
yeah, I mean, to compare it to my favorite vampire movie of all time is a bit unfair. I mean, at points I was expecting them to start, biting each other's necks, and yeah, but it didn't happen. St. Elmo's Fire. So the weird thing is about this movie, the only person in this film that I had character development with was the guy that looked like Chandler from Friends, who made friends with the prostitute. Um, that was who I was vouching for in the movie. Um,
Really?
yeah, I didn't connect with many of them, even though I've seen Breakfast Club. I'm more emotionally attached to Breakfast Club from being in detention than this film. Um, the music, I like the music. I think it's a strange one. It They look like they're in their 40s and 50s, but they're really young. Like, it's
Yeah.
so strange. And they're trying to do really adult things. I get that. But it's like they just should just be young and enjoy themselves. Like, it's like I don't know. Um, but I like it as a prominent movie of Brat Pack genre, and I do love a Brat Pack movie. I might have to give it a second watch. But opening thoughts.
Ooh.
I, I'm on the fence with this one. Um, and I feel sorry for women. I keep saying this, but I feel sorry for women in the 80s. Every time I watch these movies, I've got like a tally chart of homophobic or racial or misogyny and bigotness, like, and it's up there.
It's not.
Uh,
It's not. It's not just the 80s.
it wasn't too bad. It
Yeah.
wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. There wasn't many laugh out loud moments though for me. Um, but it was good to see Rob Lowe, who I then thought was the guy. I thought it was the guy from Stranger Things, but it's not. It's just a lookalike. So that's a nod to this movie, which I get now. Now I've seen this. Um,
Do you mean Matthew Modine?
yes.
Ah,
Um, I shall continue later, my dears.
okay, my dear. Right. Here I go. I always thought I liked this movie until this week rewatching it. And I don't know why my opinion back then thought this was a brilliant movie. It's not. Um, I can't fault the actors with their acting. It's just it's the what do you call it? The characterizations and of each character, like Emilio Estevez's character, his obsession with, with a woman, his obsession going full on, and he's only been to the cinema once. How many years ago?
It's
Um,
borderline stalking.
Border stalker. This is what I mean.
Like,
He turns into a stalker.
and
Um,
that guy, Lee, I can't stand him. He was in Breakfast Club and he was trying to be like ultra cool, but I just wanted him to get fucking beaten up. Sorry, by the wrestler guy. Like,
but
he's walking around like, yeah, I'm so cool and I'm untouchable, man. And it's
but then
like, who are you? Like, where does he get that audaciousness to be like that? Like, what?
and
Who?
then yeah,
Who is he?
and then you get Andrew McCarthy's character. It's Kevin, who it's not cool to be gay. That was the message in that, because he was the gay character, but he denies it all. He denies it, and every time someone mentions it, the look of shock and horror on his face is appalling. Um, then you get it's okay for Judd Nelson's character to cheat on his girlfriend or fiance all the time, but it's not all right for her to do it. Um, then you get Rob Lowe's character with him going with nearly every woman he can, and he doesn't think anything of it. Um, And then you get what's the character? Mayor Willingham's character, who's just a normal young woman, but she's harassed. She's harassed by Rob Lowe about her virginity, and I think that is the lowest of the low. And his going away present is fucking her, which I think is appalling.
I mean, there was an element in a lot of '80s movies of, if you were smart, if you were quiet, you were either a super nerd or nobody was going to touch you. So it kind of became like a Revenge of the Nerds trope. And then that movie's kind of creepy in its own way. And
Mm.
you know, I understand in a way too. They wanted to do like the bravado, but it's like, okay, if this is supposed to be a movie about what, 8 people or 7 people, it's still not written well enough because it's sort of tropes. Yeah, you have the virgin. Yeah, you have the nympho or whatever. Of course, you also have to admit, just like they did in Saturday Night Fever, that men can do it too. So it's like, yeah, this is a good idea, but it's still written 2 dimensional.
Mm.
It's not written well
So
enough.
yeah, what? So as soon as I was watching it this week, I thought, what did I like about this movie? I've, it's I don't know. The only good thing for me is the soundtrack. I just because I just love the song and the love theme and um,
Can he actually play the sax in real life?
Rob Lowe. I don't think he did, but
Oh, I thought he did.
I can't blame the actors because they acted the socks off. It's what the script portrayed on what they had to put onto screen is my problem. Um, and I'm not woke. I'm not woke. I tell you that. People who know me know I am not woke. But for
I'm
some
awake.
reason, I don't know. As Craig said,
I'm awake.
woke, wake, whatever.
I'm awake.
Um, the demeaning of the women, um, demeaning of sexuality, demeaning of drug addiction. I don't know. There's something. It may have worked well in the 80s, but this movie for me hasn't really aged well.
But for you,
Um, what was that, Craig?
but like for Alex and Susan, like when you was at college and uni, is that a good representation back then, or was it a lot of pressure, or what is it?
Listen, these are people who I would have been like, no fucking way would I hang out with them because you know they're super shallow, they're super like rich and they're super popular. They live in fucking opulence, even if they don't have any furniture. They live in these ginormous places. And, all my friends were like, oh, I share a room with 3 people,
Well, what?
it was a lot more
Mm.
humble and,
Mm.
and I didn't live in Washington fucking DC. I lived in Montana, so I also did, I wasn't around all these people, these people touching power.
Mm.
I was just, these people were too shallow.
Well, again, I mean, it's kind of a trope because I'm watching and I'm going, okay, there's a good idea here. There is energy in the actors, but it's just written wrong. Um,
Mm.
I mean, with all due respect, it shouldn't take, a prostitute to tell a guy, oh, just because you pay me, you would pay your girlfriend in real life. Well, okay, maybe I can partially see the train of thought there, but it's still technically wrong. And not only that, it's not good on both characters, and that's the problem. Is that I'm watching the movie and it just like that scene in The Mission, I'm going, yeah, this is just not. It's not written well enough. It's two dimensional. It's got a frat boy mentality for the guys, and it's got a, you know, I'm a woman, so I'm gonna be demure.
Yeah,
And no offense to Demi Moore, who I guess was on drugs when she was
really on drugs.
filming this movie. But again, it's also the '80s because I was a teenager in the '80s, and my parents didn't even want me to smoke, so I can't even go to drugs at all. But even so, then I'm thinking to myself, was there real character development? I mean, only a few characters. Everybody else, I'm glad that in a way they were slightly confronted with their issues, but not really. I don't think there was a real character development and resolution between all of the characters. It felt like it was like two people, and everybody else
Well,
was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be,"
no problems were solved. No problems were solved in this movie because
Right.
Rob Lowe's character at the end of it ran
Two of
away.
them were married.
He left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Andrew McCarthy and Nelson's characters didn't get the girl. She wanted time apart. So there was no problem solved. Um, Matter acted well. I mean, it acted well. You
Yeah.
can't knock the acting. It just as it written. Um, is this back in the day when a song used to sell a movie?
Right.
Because this song, "Man in Motion" by John Parr,
Is that what happened?
huge hit in late '85.
Yeah.
Was this sold the movie?
Well, I mean, again,
Possibly.
that's an interesting point, Lee, because I'm trying to remember the movie. I was looking up some old reviews and some new reviews, and I remember that I was going. I mean, I went to the movies a lot. '70s, I went all the time with my mother, but she watched different movies. She didn't watch this. And even the movies that she watched, even when there was, sexual or promiscuity, even in most of those movies, it said, you're not going to be doing this your whole life. You can have fun once in a while, or when you're young, it seems fun. But in reality, that's not how life is. So be who you want to be. Be bi, be gay, be hetero, but understand that there's consequences. There could be unknown consequences, and you're not going to be able to do it forever anyway, unless you're really, a bodybuilder or something like that. So then when I went in the '80s, it was a little different because of the age. I was a teenager, and my mother didn't even want me seeing most of these movies because she said, I think they're too permissive. And it's like, well, it is a movie too. Just because you see a movie doesn't mean that you're going to ascribe. And the thing about a movie is just like Flashdance and Fame and what other movies, Footloose and all that. I mean, Footloose is fun, but it's very tropey. It's very stereotypical.
But
not every Christian is. Don't you dare dance or you're going to hell. It's like.
But there is a.
So it's very tropey. It's like I can see the tropes now. It's a little too easy to see the. So even so, the '80s movies have like a style of the men were supposed to be hip, flexible, cool. The women were cute, pretty, or promiscuous, or like we're gonna talk about in the other movie, kind of, like this. They need to come out of their shell. But in reality, most people aren't like that. But it is a movie, but it also is the style of the movie too. Flashdance, Fame, St. Elmo's Fire. The music sold the movie, and it helped more people to go to the movie to see it. They weren't really seeing it because of the writing; they were seeing it because of the style, should I say, or the marketing of it, which was very good in the '70s and the '80s and even the '90s.
And a lot of people, especially in the '80s, aspired to be these people, and none of my friends were. None of my friends were that shallow, and so anyway.
Well, the budget was $10 million.
Ooh, yeah.
It raked in box office at just short of $38 million.
How much?
38.
About 38 million. So something worked for the movie. And for me personally, I think it was the song. Because
Yeah, I think Alex is totally agreeing with you right there.
if it wasn't for the song, I would not have gone to the cinema to see this.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, Lee. Could you see at any time in your ear or in your mind if the song had been written different? Now I don't know if you're talking about the Saint Elmo. That I can't
That's
do the
the
whole
one.
thing because we don't want to get a copyright strike.
That's the
Even
one.
though, right, even though that was written for a disabled person in a wheelchair with a spinal injury, he was an athlete.
Yeah.
The issue is the marketing starts to take a life of its own. And as I said, they were very good in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s about the marketing of a movie. And I remember so many times that I went, I would always hear one person in the crowd going, "Oh my God, we're brainwashed by the marketing." Even if they came back out and said, "I like the movie," they'd still say, "Yeah, I got a little bit, convinced by the marketing."
I think marketing for this particular movie is the winner. The marketing is the winner in this. The movie is not a winner. For me personally. And as you say, if it was a disabled character, which we never got
See,
in any mainstream movies back then, if I'm trying to remember.
It's like I think there was like 10. There were 10 movies. My Left Foot, but that's not the same type of movie. And there were two
There
other.
was Mask,
Yeah,
Mask as well. With
the
yeah,
the oh I sorry Lee, I just remembered the name of it, The Water Dance, and it did have two people from the movie that were in this movie. Mayor Winningham was in it, if I recall.
but yeah, I was just saying from the output from a decade. We'll just take the 80s for a start. From 1880 to 1989, not many disabled orientated movies. Not many coloured orientated movies. But I could say that from any sort of decade, from the 70s, from the 60s, even 50s. It's just lately in the past, I would say 15 to 20 years, it's starting to change. It is starting to change. It's a slow movement. Yeah, it's a weird one, this movie. It's shall we go to shall we dare I ask favourite moments, or shall we go favourite things what you're not so keen on?
Okay, so I apologize. So The Water Dance was 1992. So the way that disqualifies it. It was Eric Stoltz, who was also in Brad Pitt movies as well, but he was a minor character. It was Helen Hunt, not Mayor Winningham. That's another problem, is that your mind starts sort of blending in
characters.
people.
And what was the name of the movie?
It's called The Water Dance.
Oh, okay.
So, but the thing is, too, it was also, there still was a lot of TV movies about disabled people, but the issue was it was the way that they did it, and it definitely wasn't woke compared to now. But I understand that because there was a certain mentality to it. So I think that's the other issue with this movie, is that the tropes and the mentality of this movie is not good. And I think that's what we're sort of having an issue with, is that the mentality is not, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of, if there's no growth, then there's no maturity. So
Well, it's like, as I said, when this was out, I was 15 years old when this was released, and I was sort of watching it now. I was sort of oblivious to the characterizations. You know what I mean? I thought, oh, that's a damn good story. But so watching it recently, I'm thinking it's not that good. It's the characterizations is so, I don't know, but we are talking. There's many movies out there what are like this,
Yeah.
and we will come across these type of movies when we review these things, and it's just I'm quite taken aback by how much I sort of thought I loved this movie until now. Watching it again, I'm thinking, what did I see in this movie?
Well, again, is it the fact of, I mean, again, if you're watching this movie at 15, unless you knew a lot of people in your life, maybe they did seem cool back then. They're hanging out in a bar, they're all together.
This is what these movies. This is what these movies did back in the Brat Pack movies. They made these kids look cool. Um,
Yeah, and they're supposed to. They're supposed to. But the issue is, again,
They're not.
not much growth, because that's the other issue too, is that if the other things that a lot of movies don't show is the fact that, yeah, you can have fun in a bar, you can have a good time at a bar, but you can't live there, and then all the money you
But
waste,
see,
all the time you spend.
I did live in a bar.
Sure.
I lived in the Hofbrau in Bozeman, Montana. I did my homework there. I'd show up at the bar at like, 3 p.m. just after my final class and stay there till 2 a.m. So I basically lived in that bar. But the people that I knew from that bar, I mean, as different as they weren't shallow.
yeah,
They weren't ultra superficial.
Mhm.
I mean, if you're willing to, um, as a character, if your character is willing to, go against all of what they're seeing in front of them about a person, and just jump into bed with them. I don't know.
it's like the scene.
Yeah,
Rob,
Kevin getting together with Leslie, you'd think like in terms of all of the relationships or whatever that are in this, that is probably you know the one that seems to be the most you know but the trouble is that before Leslie,
Mm.
he was so homophobic. You really thought he was gay, and
yeah,
and a lot of people, uh, you know, I was thinking that he would be like wistful after one of the men at the beginning of the movie, and then
well,
that.
that's not allowed in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, no, because like I said, the funny thing is the reviews kind of agree with us, that I think that the reason why this is so popular is because you've got beautiful people in it. You've got a lot of music that people like. Again, it's the style of it, I think, too.
Yeah.
But it is basically a soap opera. It's just faster. But like I said, as I'm watching the movie, I go, "Wow, there's barely 5 people I like in this movie."
It's
And
style over quality.
yeah, and it's not, yeah. So
I mean, the scene with Rob Lowe and Demi Moore in the
Oh
car,
my God.
that was literally bordering on rape.
Yeah.
Um,
It was
where
sexual assault.
sexual assault. Come and get your keys. They're down my pants. I felt a bit uncomfortable with that.
well, no, but I mean, it was good that it didn't conclude the way he wanted it to, which is
No,
fine.
no, no. What I'm saying, yeah, I agree with that, but I'm just saying it was that sort of scene would not
Yeah.
be allowed today.
No, if they filmed it today, she would have broken his arm, to say the least. She would have gone, "I will take your keys, and you will have an enema." The
But there was no. This is what I mean. The way these characters was portrayed, there was no likable characters.
Seriously.
Yeah, no, but it was good that she's standing over him and he's on the ground, and she goes, you break everybody's hearts,
Yeah,
so
but yeah, okay, but
yeah,
Demi Moore's character is not even likable.
right. So that's the other question. Yeah,
He's just so self-obsessed.
right. Or
Um,
self-absorbed. Yeah, that
yeah.
happened.
Someone opened the door with a baby
Yeah,
Mm,
and thought nothing of it. Like, oh, okay, another
um,
another
yeah,
typical day in the neighborhood.
yeah.
Yeah.
the only character I felt a bit of sympathy for was I can't remember the character's name now. Played by Mare Wingingham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Working in the sheltered accommodation, and she had no high hopes or anything. She liked what she wanted to do. She didn't want her parents getting involved. She wanted to live her own life. She wanted a home of her own. She had feet on her ground. Um, the other characters, I just don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think, Craig?
Yeah, what you lot said.
Oh, thank you. That's very.
No, like I said,
Took the words right out of my mouth.
there's definitely a style here and a fashion, and there's music, and the cast does seem to work well together when they're all together. But you can watch Friends and you can watch another soap opera if you want to see that. The issue is, like I said, barely five characters to like in this movie, and there's no character development. I think it was what Mare Winningham and Andy McDowell's character, and that's about it. Everybody else, and the other problem is, I didn't feel like the movie established like who the characters are, what their ages are, so there was no scale.
And like,
To-
okay, and
to-
like the
A bit like
equivalent,
Justice League.
the false equivalence from drug addiction to sexual assault to stalking. I mean, they're showing that these people are they're making an equivalency, but stalking and sexual assault are really bad towards other people. They're you know, what is it called? They're
Hates.
sociopathic. And
Hmm.
then like drug addiction is an illness.
Well, I mean, like I said, the I don't think that the movie really said what I just said, which is, what's going to happen 2, 3, 5 years down the road.
No.
That's the issue here, is that it's again music, style, fashion. You've got attractive people, but the writing, the character development, the growth, it's not there.
Okay.
So
Let's
Yeah.
let Craig
So
talk
go
a
ahead,
little
Craig.
bit.
yeah,
Mhm. So, should we go straight to final say and score then? If you've got any more.
Okay.
Okay, final say and score then. Craig, over to you.
Well, I'd like everyone to know that St. Elmo's fire is a natural meteorological phenomenon,
Mm.
which means you're surrounded by lightning. Um, and yeah, like I said earlier, I think the bar, it just reminded me of the future Central Perk, so that was kind of cool. Um, I would give this film I'll give it 6 Elmo's fires out of 10.
Cool. I I didn't understand the title of this movie, St. Elmo's Fire. Okay, the bar was called St. Elmo's, but then it took the character Rob Lowe to explain St. Elmo's Fire 10 minutes at the end of the movie. If you're going to call a movie St. Elmo's Fire, you got to have something there to explain the title of the movie, I suppose. Not just before the movie ends.
This is where Elmo came from. from Sesame
No,
Street.
it's not Elmo from Sesame Street.
Oh, that,
Is this why you wanted to review it? You thought Elmo.
Elmo's fault. He should
Oh,
have been in it. It would have been
yeah,
better.
and Sesame Street still wins.
And they know what diversity is as well. Hands up. Sesame Street.
right. We'll go. We'll go. Susan and Alex.
That was pretty funny. That was
Go
pretty-
ahead.
Yeah, like like I said, it's I don't know. I guess if you're a teenager or you're in your 20s and you see this movie, I guess you think it's really cool. It's not, and there's really no character development. It's style over substance, and unfortunately, that's what a lot of 80s movies are. But it's just the writing isn't good. There's no growth. So, and I guess John Hughes sort of had a lot to do with this movie. So I don't know if it was, the fact that it made such a big marketing success and such a big, casting splash. At the same point, it is just a movie. But I would rather watch Splash with Tom Hanks and John Candy. You definitely see more character development. I mean, even John Candy almost stops the movie to say, I know that my life is crap and I need to change. And I'd rather watch that movie. And Splash has a lot of moments that are weird and embarrassing, but it has more character development in this movie and less of the cast. So
Okay,
Susan.
so what would you give it out of 10?
4.
Okay, well, I'll go 2 above. I was thinking the same as Craig. I was aiming for around 5 or 6, and I'll go 5.5. It's yeah, it's the equivalencies, the relational shallowness, the fact that they wrote characters that at one point were being completely relationally destructive, and then the next minute they're getting their dreams met. I mean, you just don't see that movement from their fuck ups to their achievement. And they, I mean, even the story of the guy of this one who was working for a Democrat, and then he switched parties and worked for a Republican. I mean, that was just based on power. And so basically these were horrible power plays that were completely wicked in so many ways. And I'm just not I'm not a fan of any of these characters. And so I probably won't watch this again for another number of years. So 5.5 is my number. Back over to you, Lee.
Radio. The only thing I've got to agree with in this movie is if I was in a relationship and we was splitting up, I would not give away Bruce Springsteen albums either. Yeah, I don't know where my admiration for this movie came from back in the day, but it's faded very, very quickly after viewing this one. It's a 10 out of 10 for John Parr, Sentinel's Fire Man in Motion, a Doncaster lad from up Yorkshire. Great song.
I didn't know that Yorkshire would be represented.
But for the movie,
There's always got to be a northerner.
for the movie, I'm giving it a 3.
God, you went lower than that.
Yeah, I'm surprised at myself. I mean, I was really looking forward to rewatching this week. Um, and no, just doesn't do it anymore for me. I don't know why. You grow out of things, I suppose.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's a 3 for me. I'm afraid, but each their own. Somebody may love this to bits, like I did 20 years ago, but not now. Um, so that's our little review of St Elmo's Fire.
That's the one I've
And it's not anything to do with Sesame Street. Craig thought this is why he suggested it, I think.
Last Supper.
Uh, but I'd like to thank Craig, Susan, and Alex for joining me talking this movie. You guys out there, please leave a comment below. Let us know what you thought of St Elmo's Fire. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're all over the place. On YouTube, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to us. Press the bell notification button, and you will get a little ding every time. Susan's dinger never works. No, it's still not working.
Kid
Just a
you.
ding, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
But and if if you'd like to join our casts, get in touch, message us. Play, we need, like seeing new faces on our cast. People with open minds of what we review, and difference of opinion is always welcome. Because that's a good review. If we agreed on everything, wouldn't we be so boring?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh yeah. So as you can tell from this review, it wasn't a positive review.
No, sometimes
But
we don't love what we watch.
yeah, exactly. But the scoring differed so much.
I couldn't wait
So,
for it to end.
yeah. So until next time, you guys out there, please enjoy watching our casts, and give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Hey, we're easy. Thanks, Craig. Yeah, yeah. Well, so until next time, be safe. Bye for now.